fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of December 12th, 2023. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. Boy, is this a very special time. Well, we have this interesting contrast of energies playing out right now. A new moon that is, of course, going to get a lot of focus. The moon speaks to our emotional reality. And so when there is a new moon, for example, all of us are feeling as if something's got to give, something's got to change. And in this case, it is a new moon that wants to be optimistic, but it's also filled with passion and adrenaline and irritation. But there's this layer of confusion there as well, and fear that may feel very much on the surface. And then we have Mercury going retro. And that is rather interesting because normally Mercury going retro, people kind of, they're afraid or they're cautious or they freak out, or maybe they can feel as if things are not necessarily as they're being told or as they seem. But in this case, this is actually a very fortunate turn of events, literally a turn of direction for Mercury. While Mercury is hanging tight, a supremely harmonious alignment with Jupiter suggests that opportunities, blessings, possibilities we thought were gone might just come back around now and bless us, might just be better than what it is that they were before. And so as this contrast plays out, I was wanting to consider the wisdom of this time. What is it? Why is it that we have, as part of a wise and loving universe, a new moon that has its measure of emotional ups and downs? And at the same time, we have Mercury filled with hope. Well, Mercury is about our minds. It's about what we're thinking about, the thoughts we're holding, what we're talking about collectively and personally as well. And the fact that the planet of hope, Jupiter, is speaking in supreme harmony with Mercury at the height of its power as it changes directions, closer to the earth than it might otherwise be. It speaks profoundly to how it is that our minds are focused. We are invited to consider hope, even if it's hard, even if it feels like there's every reason for fear. If we look for it, if we direct our minds, we can see that perhaps good things are happening and perhaps we can contribute to positive occurrences taking place now. Mercury is fascinating to me. Mercury is one of the only gods, we look at ancient Greek mythology, who is freely able to travel between the worlds, freely able to move through the underworld, through our human realm, and also amongst the gods as well. And Mercury wasn't only fluid in this way. He was also conceptualized as fluid in his gender expression, where he wasn't necessarily very strongly aligned with a particular binary. In fact, he was often conceptualized as androgynous, and yet he also had the most incredible lovers, including the goddess of love herself, Venus, with whom he had many children. And so we can see here that there's this sense of not being restricted when it is that we think about Mercury, whether that's in how we express ourselves, who we know ourselves to be, the thoughts that we hold, but also in terms of the realm of ideas. It's often said, and I know it's been said by philosophers going back many millennia, that it is only in our minds that we are truly free. That so much can be done to affect, to control our outer world, our freedom, our sense of space, but it is in the realm of mind that true freedom can not only be found, but actually experienced. It is there that there's no restriction. But of course, that doesn't take into account the fact that our conditioning itself, those messages that we receive from the time that we're very young, perhaps from the time before we could even speak, they become a type of limitation if we let them. If we are fortunate, we may come to key moments in our life when we're able to recognize that perhaps we've taken on messaging that was never really our own. We've allowed ourselves to get into mental patterns and blocks and ways of thinking, formulas, if you will. And if we're lucky, we have moments where we realize where those patterns are no longer serving us. And when we do, that can be the beginning of a truly empowered freedom. When we start to think for ourselves, or we at least start to question what it is that we've always been told, how it is that our minds themselves operate. And so, thinking of Mercury, covering all of this, having to do with mind and the way in which Mercury could move between worlds. It was Mercury who could go to those souls who were in purgatory or didn't really realize that they were meant to go to the underworld and actually accompany them, clear the way, help them to understand, have a conversation with those souls, and through conversation, help them to know that they really are okay, that he is with them, and he is able to travel with them as they move to the next realm that they are meant to be, as they leave their human selves behind, their mortal selves behind, and move into the underworld for a brand new life for themselves. It is also Mercury who is able to be human, be present enough to know love again and again, to have different lovers, including, as I mentioned, Venus herself. Now, this Venusian connection becomes especially important because it is on Monday, as we begin this week, that Mercury, stationary, standing still in the sky, is going to connect in harmony with Venus. Venus is currently in the sign of Scorpio. This is exactly opposite the sky from her home sign of Taurus. Her other home sign is Libra. But when it is that a planet is across the sky from where it is at home, it tends to need to work extra hard in order to bring forward its qualities that otherwise come really naturally when it's at home. For example, Venus is lush, right? She is easy. And I mean that in more ways than one. She is guided by pleasure of the senses when she is at home in the sign of Taurus. But in the energy of Scorpio, she wants something substantive. It's not enough just to feel good, just to feel love on the level of the five senses, but it has to mean something. She wants to turn love over and know that what is there, guck and all, the stuff that we don't otherwise want to look at, if we allow it to be seen, will we still be worthy of love? Well, of course we would. But that's the work that Venus and Scorpio does. It also wants a love that it can feel very profoundly, deeply within through its veins and its pores and its skin and beyond. It's not enough just to have physical sensory pleasure. It's about merging. It's about entanglement, even, that makes love that much more worth an endeavor pursuing. With Mercury, though, speaking with that Venus, we're invited to still think it through, to really conceptualize and think about what love is to us, what it has become, how our own definitions of love have evolved, and also to be honest with ourselves on a level of mind and on a level of reason, even as to whether or not we are telling ourselves that where we are right now in love, or even in pleasure, or even in money, because that's part of Venus as well. And when I say love, I don't just mean romantic love, I also mean self-love. I mean what it is that we hold in our heart. Is it something that we're kidding ourselves about, something we're just telling ourselves? What is the reality of the situation? if we get really honest with ourselves, wounds and all, the stuff that we don't want to admit, what is it leading us to understand about what love is to us, about what prosperity is to us, about what beauty is to us? Beauty is very much relative, right? They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. There's a million and one ways that's been said for millennia as well. And it really is the case that I am very much of the belief we all have our own unique beauty, but we also all have our own unique beauty expression. And it is not just skin deep, it goes way beyond that as well. I know just about everybody I know myself, certainly I've had the experience many times where someone may seem okay on the surface, but as soon as they start talking or as soon as I see like what kind of person is there, they can become very much more beautiful in front of my eyes. It's because of the energy that they bring. It's because of what they're radiating. Kindness, right? For example, generosity, care, brilliance, celebrating our own unique brilliance, confidence, comfort, ease with oneself. These are all characteristics of how it is that beauty is able to be seen that much more, is able to shine forward that much more. And as much as Venus in Scorpio can really nitpick, right? Not like Virgo nitpicks, okay? I want to say that's all about like seeing the details and trying to figure out, but it's Scorpio energy that knows that nothing is as it seems on the surface, that things are rarely as calm or as simple, that there's always something more complex, more messy going on, but it's in the mess that the beauty exists. And that's what Venus in Scorpio is inviting us to do now. And as Mercury stands still in the sky, in the sign of Capricorn, we're looking at the evidence. We're being invited to consider what has manifested and what it is showing us about what is actually messy and where is it that it still is profoundly beautiful inside and out as well. But there's another factor here, and that is Venus's blessings. The ancients considered her the lower benefic, Jupiter's the higher benefic. Both are speaking with Mercury now, both planets that speak to blessings. And that to me speaks profoundly as well to how it is that connections, communications, thought patterns, how all of it can come together and have blessings arrive in ways that we didn't expect, in ways that we thought were gone for good. The good stuff that we thought was no longer for us, perhaps we even mourned it, right? Venus is in Scorpio. She can be dramatic here. And yes, mourn, actually grieve in her own way, lament in her own way, and yet is blessed. And it is Mercury now that makes us aware of blessings. Mercury likes to work very synchronistically, which is about being in the right place at the right time, connecting with the right person, and it makes all the difference. And yes, it may be connecting with people now, but it's also putting thoughts and ideas together. Connecting the dots can happen now in a way that unleashes blessings to us. But I do think some of the best stuff with this Mercury retrograde this week, while Mercury continues to hang tight, a supremely harmonious conversation with Jupiter. Last week, we had this energy. This week, it's hanging tight. Next week, we're going to feel this energy as well. And as Mercury is magnified in importance now, magnified in its own power, those messages, the news, the connections, the contacts, they finally reach us. Chances are those opportunities, those blessings are even better than they were before. We're able to see it for what it is. We're able to recognize where things have been messy, but we're also able to cultivate real gratitude now for what is actually happening, practically and in the real world, manifesting something better than we knew before. On Tuesday in the Americas and Wednesday in the rest of the world, that is when we are going to have a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. This is a new moon that I spoke of at length in the monthly horoscope for each and every sign. And so you may want to review that again to understand how this energy is going to speak to you more personally. But when I look at this energy collectively, the energy that is with us at this time, it is profound, but in a different way. Sagittarius, in and of itself, can be representative of, well, over the top, right? It's an energy that enjoys, wants to embrace life and experiences. However, what we have here with this new moon is, on the one hand, it's not far away in the sky from Mars. That's rather intriguing to me because that's the adrenaline, but also the potential for irritation is here as well. But the most defining characteristic of this new moon is the fact that it is square Neptune. And that's where we get to a place of confusion, but also just wasted energy. The energy of Sagittarius goes way over the top. The energy of Neptune, it can be draining. Remember, I spoke to you about Neptune last week because Neptune was stationary direct. Neptune is still at the height of its power. It is recently direct, appearing to stand still. It has slowly begun to change directions. And so again, we're feeling this sense of uncertainty, some confusion, but the clarity is there as well. We're seeing these little breaks in the clouds. Neptune itself makes things feel cloudy, but it's also about indulging in a way that ends up feeling like we've poured the best of us out. And then what's left for us? With Neptune, the tides come in and the tides go out. With a Neptune square, it's more likely to feel like that tide is going out and it's taking some of our energy, our creativity with it. Now, of course, the tide's going to come in again, right? So it's not a big deal. Energies are constantly changing, and ultimately they're all for the highest good of all concerned. They're all set up as part of our unique journey towards greater love and greater wisdom, individually and collectively as well. And sometimes we need to understand where we're meant to go by perhaps glimpsing what it is that's not working for us. By seeing what's not working for us, we're able to truly begin again. Consider that, yes, this new moon is challenging with its square to Neptune in particular, with the heightened irritation of Mars so close by. And yet, it is trying the North Node. This to me is absolutely fascinating. The North Node speaks to the direction in which the soul desires to go. Again, this could be collective, this could be personal. If the transiting North Node is speaking in your chart, well, it's awakening a sense of karmically, evolutionarily, where it is that the soul desires to go. What's the pathway towards greater love, greater wisdom? What's the doorway from which new people, places, things, situations are going to enter that represent karmic blessings? I spoke about the nodes at length in my book, The Universe is Wise and Loving, and you can check out links for that down below. Now, having said that, because I love the nodes so much, because they speak to the soul promises that we made before we incarnated, in some way for all of us, that is going to awaken as part of our unique journeys. But the fact that on the surface, this new moon is challenging, but it's speaking in supreme harmony with the North Node, tells me that whatever might be challenging, it would be a good idea to accept it, to go with it. In fact, we might not have much of a choice other than to find acceptance, because a new beginning wants to be found. And ultimately, this new beginning aligns us with greater blessings. Those new beginnings open that doorway. But we may have to move through some disappointment first in order for the blessing to find us. Because if it is that we're holding on too tight to a particular area where we think, no, this is where my blessing is supposed to be, this is where it's supposed to come from, then it becomes very hard to allow the universe space that it may need for something even greater than we can imagine for ourselves. And sometimes we have certain asks of the universe, right? That's the thing with Sag energy as well. The ask can feel so big. It can feel so magnificent. It can feel like, oh my God, I would just love to achieve that thing, that huge thing that feels so out of reach for me. But what we don't realize with our human ego is that from the perspective of the universe, that thing that feels so big is actually really, really small in comparison to what it is that the universe has planned for us. And there's going to be this moment when we may start to recognize that that big ask, that might not be it. We may start to get a gut feeling that, maybe I'm very adamantly telling the universe something, but that might actually be my own limited perception. That might be me trying to feed my ego because whatever, you don't feel very good about yourself, or messages that have been there, as we discussed earlier. And so there's that. But there's this space between being able to acknowledge that that could be a possibility and having the presentation of what could actually be, what the universe might actually have planned for us. And it's this space where we feel a little bit like up in the air, like we're not necessarily on strong footing, we're not necessarily grounded. And yet, it's that space that's necessary for faith to exist. Faith would be meaningless if not for those very spaces when we are up in the air. When we know that the way we've been going at it, it just isn't working. Maybe it doesn't feel right. Maybe very clearly we're getting messages from the world, from our lives, that that ain't the way. Something in us knows that there's something better. It doesn't have to be revealed completely. But what I can say is this is the beginning of the reveal. And certainly as we navigate this time, consider this as well. This week, we've got that new moon, yes, but what we're also going to have as we move towards the end of the week is the sun square Neptune. And what that does is essentially drag out that new moon energy, drag out the disappointment, the confusion. I'm so sorry to say, the wasted energy. I'm so sorry to say, but it does happen. But sometimes we need that. We need to pour energy in a direction before we say, wow, I have poured way too much over here. It's going to be what it's going to be. I need to replenish. Well, what does replenishing look like? That involves surrender. It involves being open to how it is that the universe wants to replenish us. And that's going to be the great dichotomy of this time. That's going to be part of the mystery unfolding for us at this time. But the fact that this new moon is trine the North Node, the fact that the sun, as the sun moves through this week, will trine the North Node, the fact that once we navigate further, the 13th is when Mercury goes retrograde. The 23rd is when Mercury will retrograde back into the sign of Sagittarius and is going to be where the sun is right about now, in the second part of this week in particular, but is going to also move into orb of a trine with the North Node as well, but it will also repeat the square of Neptune as well. That's going to be strong energy we end the year with, we start a new year with. And all of that can feel rather overwhelming with this wave of emotion, and it really is waves. Just when they start to feel calm, they come on again. Just when we feel replenished, we realize that we've been giving way too much. We're draining ourselves in some way. But all of this is necessary to awaken the trine to the North Node with the new moon, with the sun this week. And eventually, as we navigate further, Mercury will set up those trines with the North Node as well. And so we are in a process, we are in a journey. Strive to stay connected to that Mercury retrograde. That is the grounding principle with Mercury retrograding in the sign of Capricorn now, an earth sign no less, an ambitious sign no less, inviting us to see the big picture. We don't have to have all the details just yet. Chances are the details are going to change. Mercury is retrograde after all, no matter how optimistic, how hopeful, how wonderful this time may be. And yet the promise is there. A little bit of faith will go a really long way in helping us to see how that doorway might be opening, that karmic doorway from which new people, places, things, situations enter, which represent massive blessings for us, sometimes immediately, but often in the fullness of time. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It is a valuable and meaningful astrological moment. Look, it's a hugely important sky this week. We have this contrast of energies. But of course, I've had to choose one thing that I really love this week for us. It's got to be the Mercury retrograde. Now, normally Mercury retrograde wreaks havoc. However, in this case, it invites us to be open to where it is we thought some opportunity, some person, place, thing, situation was gone, was done, was over, just might come back around. It might be the same thing, or it might be something completely different, but reminiscent of what we thought we had lost. But this time, it's better. It's much better than what it was before. That doesn't mean we understand everything about how it's supposed to work out, especially once we navigate further into this Mercury retrograde season. But right now, the blessings are there. They are massive. We have this variety of emotional realities and emotional responses now. On the one hand, there's a heightened optimism that's very well worth indulging. But there's also that sense of not seeing clearly to the point where we might be wasting energy. And that has its wisdom as well. Because ultimately, we're being invited to be open to a more authentic and grounded and real optimism that's rooted in not just what we believe, which is great, which is necessary, but it's also rooted in what we do when we take action to back up what we believe. Sometimes the most powerful action we can take is surrender. It is in acknowledging that we as human beings, we don't know the whole picture. And sometimes it's only in retrospect that we're able to connect the dots to see how some disappointment led to some massive blessing, massive gain, massive progress. That's what's underway now in some ways. Our opportunity and our skill building potential for the moment is to find balance between these different urges. The knowing that faith is our strength, but also wanting to harness the power of our minds. Both can find a way to work together. Both can serve us well. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys, and to prove it to you, here's some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you and your sign, log on to NadiaShawSuperstars.com, where you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiaShawSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. 24 days of giveaways is underway as we begin this week. We're about 10 days in to this 24, so there's still lots of time. Daily prizes are available, and it really is thanks to these incredible astrologers you see here. They are being featured one at a time each day. If you're on my newsletter, if you're on my social media, you're getting those notifications so you know when new prizes are available. And I just want to thank these incredible astrologers for their presence with Synchronicity University, with this giveaway, with creating awareness around what it is that they do and what it is that they offer. It's just been a massive blessing to be a part of it for me personally, but also to see other astrologers shine. That really does make my heart so, so very happy. Yes, you can still win lots of prizes. There's 2 weeks left in the 24 days giveaway this December, the first 24 days of this month. Yes, it's happening right now. So make sure you join my newsletter and you check in at nadiashaw.com each and every day. Brand new prizes. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University has an incredible January 2024 program, and you've got just a couple weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from this caliber of astrologer. I am so excited to share them with you, to celebrate them with you. I am going to start with the one and only Stormy Grace. Stormy Grace is back. I know that you guys love her so much. She's brilliant. She's knowledgeable. She's charismatic. And she is bringing the perfect course to start 2024 with. It is all about how you're going to tap into the power of the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra in 2024. Yes, just looking at these two placements, she's got 5 classes oriented around aligning yourself with that higher, more loving vision for your life, how you're going to go about it, how you're going to do it. All of that is set to be revealed one class at a time with the one and only Stormy Grace. This woman brings so much love to her practice. And of course, she has it to back up. She does have a PhD in business as well. But she's starting to show these different parts of her. She's moving beyond just astrology and business. But if you remember, or if you didn't have a chance to take her earlier courses where astrology meets business, you can actually, thanks to her generosity, get those instant downloads now, also for just $5 a class at synchronicityuniversity.com. So whether it is that you're getting her previous programs so that you set yourself up for business success this year, or whether it is you're tapping into this sense of the pathway of the soul this year in 2024, how to align with greater blessings than you knew before, Stormy is someone to learn from. Again, you've got just a few weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from the one and only Stormy Grace at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents the one and only, the brilliant Cameron Allen. You gotta love Cameron Allen. He really is a superstar in astrology today. One of the leading medical astrologers out there, shining bright all over the world. And he is one of our more popular teachers as well. And he's back at Synchronicity University, starting the year of 2024, understanding astrology and health from a deeper perspective. Now, this is the 3rd course on astrology and health and medical astrology that Cameron Allen has taught at Synchronicity University. Each program is a standalone, so you could take this as a standalone. But if you want to catch up, you can get instant downloads now of his previous classes at just $5 a class, an unheard of rate, to get previous classes, but also upcoming classes as well from the one and only Cameron Allen. So yes, medical astrology, rooting yourself in astrology for your best health for this year ahead. What a wonderful way to start 2024. Learn more and sign up now. Sign up. You've got about 3 weeks left as this week begins to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class to learn from the one and only Cameron Allen. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University has an incredible January 2024 speaker series coming up, and I am thrilled to announce, to present, to celebrate these astrologers with you. I am going to start with my dear friend, Andy of Wise Ass Astrology. Andy is one of the most brilliant astrologers I know. He's got sass. If you've watched him, there's a reason he calls himself Wise Ass Astrology. And he's going to be talking about relationships this January as part of the speaker series at Synchronicity University. Caesar Love is going to be teaching about basketball, looking at the stars in basketball and what's going on. So this is going to be a very different type of class. And I'm really excited about this whole sports perspective that he is going to uniquely bring to Synchronicity University. Carrie Samuels is going to bring numerology. This is so exciting. Numerology, its connection to astrology. They are very interconnected, but knowing both can really help to magnify our understanding of both and sharpen our skills as well. Numerology, always a popular topic in my own life. I do utilize numerology for myself as I move through year to year, month to month. I find it such a valuable divinatory tool. I'm so glad she's going to be bringing it to Synchronicity University. Anna Andrade is going to be bringing the Vertex. I saw her teach this class through one of the professional organizations. And I was like, the Vertex, everybody wants to know about the Vertex. This is so cool. She's teaching on the Vertex. Come to Synchronicity University, please. So I'm so excited to be welcoming her. This is going to be wonderful. I think of the Vertex as this point where when it is activated, you meet someone who pulls you into a vortex. That has literally been an experience I have had, certainly more than once. She's going to have her own take, and I'm really looking forward to that. And Carl Glimmick. Now, Carl is brilliant. You've seen him on my channel before when I interviewed him as part of the Canadian Astrology Conference. He is brilliant and charismatic, and I knew I wanted him at Synchronicity University. And he is going to be looking at gardening by the moon, really practical stuff that you can start to apply right away, or at least if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's probably cold. But if you're in Australia, you can apply this right away, start tending the land. If you're in a warmer climate, even if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, you can start using it. If not, take those notes and use it in the spring. It'll be here before you know it. You know how life works. So yes, Carl, brilliant astrologer, is going to be part of the January speaker series as well. So you can see here, you've got just a couple of weeks left to choose your tuition rate. As always, just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from these incredible astrologers at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. And thank you. Thank you so much for this moment with you. Thank you for your trust. I'm truly so grateful for it. I appreciate each and every one of you. As you can see, I'm home at my parents' house in South Central Ontario. That's where it is. And it's lovely. It's lovely being so loved, and I'm enjoying it. And it's cold, and yet I am in my home on native land. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for walking my journey with me wherever I go. I'll be on the road again soon before you know it. But it's nice to be home right now. And it's so nice to be able to share wherever I am with you, to share every step of my journey with you, to be some part of your sacred journey. Just thank you. It is such a privilege. And thank you again for watching. Remember, 24 days of giveaways are underway right now. We're in the middle of it. So make sure you're keeping track so that you can sign up and win prizes each and every day. We've got prizes. I hope that you enjoy them. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.